I know some of you may be going through periods of isolation at this time where you feel lonely or that the whole universe is just kind of collapsing onto your structure, inner structure of reality, and you're not sure why you don't fit in, or you're wondering what it would be like to go back to the good old days where you did fit in. But my question to you is, why do you want to fit in with people that do things that don't work in the long run? This is a thing that I started to realize the further and further I went down the spiritual path. How few people there really are on this journey. And what I realize is that it's about thinking for yourself. Genuinely putting yourself in a frame of mind, whether you're in nature, whether it's on your bed, whether you're out on a walk in your neighborhood, and just thinking about how you can place yourself in a better positive position. And recently, over the past week or so, I have been working, probably about 12-hour days between my actual job, my day job like YouTube, and then my side business and consultations as well. And all together today, it all just kind of hit me after my workout this morning. I just had this period of exhaustion that just overwhelmed me. And it wasn't like a burnout. It was just a dire need for some rest. And I don't have rest days because I don't think that that's what God wants us to do unless it's a biblical holiday, which there is a biblical holiday coming up in September 2, actually, which I will go into further detail on in another video, but for the sake of this video, I'll continue on with the story here. So I decided to just sit down in my room and just lay there for 2 hours. And that was probably one of the best things that I could do. Because in that time period, I was not thinking about anything. I was not trying to think about anything. I was just giving myself, okay, here are 2 hours for me to just sit. And it was fantastic because as soon as that happened, I got right back on the horse, got some more work done, and went out, ran some errands, and did some other grocery shopping and all of that fun stuff. But what you'll begin to realize is the more that you're able to take care of yourself and you just know your body, your calm demeanor, your grounded demeanor, because you are in connection to the Most High, you are going to be intimidating people. And some of them are going to be acting out in jealousy, and they're going to be envious of you, and some people are going to be admiring you. At this point in time, I've noticed a pattern. It's whenever I get a lot of love, there also is like these random occurrences of small bits of hatred as well. But whenever I get a lot of hate, there's also like a wave of love that comes through afterward. And so what you have to understand is that when you actually give your life and surrender to the Most High, what you are doing is allowing your life to be a vessel for His creation and His word. And when you made the choice to keep the commandments, your life, as weird as it sounds, is no longer yours. And so when you're submitted to the Most High, when you are in surrender to the Most High, now men the only thing that I would ever encourage you to submit to is not me, not any man on earth, but God. God is the only one that you need to submit to. God is the only one that I will ever surrender to if I'm in a spiritual fight. And so that is also something that I encourage you all to do as well, women included. The only thing that I would ever encourage you to do, if it's not your husband, or if it's not your long-term relationship partner, or a father figure, or another close family masculine figure, or a close, again, family is like kind of iffy these days, but the word family anyway. But the only masculine person that I would ever encourage women to really submit to, if it's not any of those that I just mentioned, is God. Women, if you do not have any man in your life right now, you need to submit to God. And it's going to be challenging for some women to know the difference between God's voice and the devil's voice. And the reason that is because the emotions of a woman can overwhelm them sometimes. I've had clients that I've worked with in the past in consultations that were women that had trouble discerning specifically what was the difference between God's voice and the devil's voice, because a lot of these men would say some sweet things, but on the outside looking in, it was very clear that like this guy was sent from the devil. And so I do want to do a video that is on the topic of how to discern whether someone is sent from the devil or whether someone is sent from God. But in the reality of any situation that you're in, there are going to be two sides generally. There's going to be people with good intentions and people with not so good intentions. And when you intimidate people just because of your calm, grounded demeanor, oftentimes what you're doing is provoking the bad intentions in their demons. And so I had a situation at a coffee shop here in town. I won't say which coffee shop, but the person that I was talking to, which was a male, actually started to get like visibly angry at me just by seeing me. And it was as if just my presence was irritating to this male. And I knew that this person had some demons that they were dealing with at the time, because just the way that they, give you that like mug look, it's weird, and it's wild how some of these people will just stare at you with this dark, cold stare that tries to pierce through your light with sheer darkness and desolate will of just the devil itself. But your will has to be stronger than theirs. And you cannot bend or break. You can neutralize the situation, but neutralization is going to be better than provoking a conflict or initiating a conflict. Because sometimes it's, there's a quote in Batman the Dark Knight. At the very end, Batman says, sometimes the truth isn't good enough. Sometimes people deserve more. And what that really means is that sometimes the truth is too hard for some people to hear. Like, they literally cannot handle it. And to hear the truth for them would be to set fire to the town, basically. And so you have to have the discernment and the understanding to see that sometimes there are going to be people that you just need to neutralize the situation with. It's not necessarily the case that you need to provoke them or you have to confront them. Because if a person doesn't really want to hear or see anything about the light of Jesus, there's little that you can do to bring them to the light. And so sometimes it's better to just de-escalate the situation, especially if people are intimidated by you. And if they're intimidated by you with bad intentions, that is. If they're intimidated by you because of the admiration and the respect that they have for you, that's a different subject altogether. And when that happens, it's a lot easier to go with the flow in those kinds of situations. Like, I've had women that have showed great respect and admiration toward me and are very submissive, which is very nice. And this is something I don't think a lot of women understand, is that to surrender and to submit in the presence of a godly man is just going to make you more powerful. It's going to make you more at ease. When you can genuinely lean into your feminine qualities, it's going to make the whole interaction a lot easier. But it is up to the man to make sure that he is initiating those proper interactions accordingly. However, you also have to understand, ladies and gentlemen, that as spiritually inclined people, you are going to be ahead of your time. I'm not sure if any of you are familiar with the term, but it's almost as if you are time traveling in the spirit. I've had very strange occurrences throughout my time since my spiritual awakening where it's almost like the things that are happening around me, I'm glimpsing into the future of a particular situation that I'm in elsewhere. And it's hard to explain without giving you guys the whole story and the whole background of all the situation altogether. But essentially, what this means is that you're going to be interacting with the illusion of time in simultaneous discretion with time itself. What exactly does that mean? It means that the higher that you level up spiritually and the more you elevate your vibration, the clearer you're going to see how things really are and what things really are and how things really is. how things really is or how it really is. Even both. And when you do that, you're going to recognize that time itself as a moving image is ever changing, but it's always connected. What's in the future is going to be like, there's actually some scientific studies that can back this up in quantum physics, at least as far as theories. But the theory is essentially is that time is connected past, present, and future, in the sense that what happens in the future can actually affect the present, and what happens in the present can actually affect the past. But what happens in the past will determine the present and the future. So it's almost like this Rubik's Cube of possibilities. And so the way that you turn it and the way that you interact with the cube, the Rubik's Cube of time, is going to determine whether or not you're going to be able to actually solve the puzzle of time in due time. I hope that made sense. I just want you guys to know that as you progress on the spiritual path, and the more that you isolate yourselves, it's actually okay. It's actually a good thing that you're becoming isolated. In fact, a lot of the times women may feel particularly isolated. I know because I've talked to women that have felt that isolation, and it is very difficult for women to not be around people socially, and I understand it. But at the same time, women, you have to be strong. You have to recognize whether something is actually feeling good or not. Are you addicted to the feeling of chaos? Or do you just not understand that you are addicted to the feeling of chaos? And this message is for women that are not traditional, of course. These are the women that are not so traditional, but are trying to be more. And I have compassion for these women that are actually trying to do something better with their life. You know, I'm proud of those women for actually putting in an effort and seeing that there are ways that they can be doing things better. But I would still say that the majority of men and the majority of women in modern day times, like, leave them behind. Why you don't need to have pity for these people. You don't need to be deceived by these people. In the Bible it says evil communications disrupt good manners. And I think that's very true. Because the more that you're around these kinds of people that don't want to have self-betterment and self-improvement, the more you're going to realize that you're ending up to become a little bit more like them each day if you don't keep yourself in check. And part of keeping yourself in check is not communicating with the people that are having these kinds of more evil intentions towards you, that are envious or jealous, that do not respect you, that actually hate to see that you're doing good. So with that being said, I hope this message was useful and insightful. And until next time, peace be with you.